Hi guys, Matt and Blake from footballboots.co.uk, and today we're going to bring you our latest best boots for a certain position. Going through the spine of the team, we've brought you goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and Blake did his strikers. So now last up, we've got our best boots for wingers. So this is our opinion of the best boots for wingers, so they're going to be quite speed themed because that's what wingers are, quite rapid and agile. So first up, we've got Puma's Evo Speed SL. We've got the first generation, but there's also the Evo Speed SL2, the SLS, which is a bit more durable, and the Evo Speed Fresh. Blake, talk us through the Evo Speed SL.
So it's a great boot for wingers. You've got the likes of Marco Reus, Antoine Griezmann, he's more of a forward than a winger, but it's a great boot for wingers. It is the lightest boot on the list, just over 100 grams. Super thin textile upper, super thin sole plate. It's all about speed with the Evo Speed. What do you think about the Evo Speed?
Well, I think it is a good boot. It is very lightweight because of that textile upper. One thing to mention, if you do get the SL or the SL2, they will only last about 10 games because the durability is pretty poor. So if you do want a more durable version, then go for the SLS. But overall, a very lightweight boot, and there's some bold colourways out there, including the Evo Speed Fresh. So next up, we've got the Adidas X16.1. You're going to see the likes of Gareth Bale, Hassan Ben Arfa and Mohamed Salah wearing this boot. So it is very speed themed again. We've got the 16.1 in the Mercury Pack colourway. Blake, talk us through the X16.1.
So the X16.1 is the much more affordable alternative from the Pure Chaos, the X16 Plus Pure Chaos. You can also get the X16.1 leather, which is headlined by Jesse Lingard of Manchester United, just for a bit more comfort around your toes. But yeah, it is the more affordable option in the X16 range. What do you think?
Well, it's also got that sprint frame sole plate, which is a very positive thing to have. It's highly popular and a lot of players do like it. And on this sprint frame sole plate, we've got some teardrop shaped studs, which are really good for rotational traction and some agile movement. Looking at the upper, and it is slash graphic, one thing for me, it is slightly stiff straight out of the box, so it does require some braking time.
Yeah, so it's got that central lacing system, that no-tongue design. Very sort of, it is quite wide fitting for a speed boot. If you are a wide footed winger, this may be an option for you, as well as the X16 Plus Pure Chaos we'll get into later.
So next up is a pair of boots we don't actually have here to show you, but it's New Balance's Furor 2.0, so it's the second generation of the Furon. You're going to see players like Yannick Bolasie, Jesus Navas and Kevin Morelos wearing the boot. It's not particularly a model for me, but Blake doesn't actually mind the boot and he's going to talk you through it a little bit more.
So from the first generation to the second generation, the upper is much better. It's softer, it's more of a mesh-based design rather than a straight-up synthetic design. So mesh-based, very comfortable for a synthetic boot, and it's quite lightweight as well, like all these boots we'll mention on this list. So you got Morales, you got Bolasie, two Everton wingers wearing the Furon 2. It's a really lightweight boot, great option for wingers. What do you think?
For me, as I said, the upper was just too stiff from that first generation, so I'm not sure whether to give it a go for the 2.0. Alongside that, that sole plate is very stiff again, and it also has that burrito tongue, which can be quite aggressive around the front of the foot.
That's the first gen has the burrito tongue, doesn't it?
Yep, so what's the second generation?
I don't think it has the burrito tongue, but... Yeah.
So apart from that, it's also got that collar. It's a little bit like a tech foot collar. It's shortened. They call it the Galaxy Sprint Spike. So it's something that's been added to the 2.0 just to make it a little bit more responsive. So an interesting one to bring up next is the Adidas Messi 16 Plus Pure Agility. And obviously this is a signature boot for Lionel Messi himself. Great player, one of the greatest of all time, but interestingly, he prefers the 16.1 model. Blake, can you talk us through the Pure Agility and also the 0.1?
So the 0.1 is the cheaper model in the Messi 16 range. The Pure Agility is the much more premium edition. It's got that pure cut sock system. Really good boot for wingers. You've got that really clean lacing region here. I mean, you've got no laces underneath here, and the pure cut sock system providing a seamless strike on the ball. And it's all about the sole plate with the Messi 16 Plus. You've got that Messi Gamba Tracks, sprint frame sole plate, stud system, really aggressive stud system, quite responsive. And the Messi 16.1, which is preferred by Leo Messi himself, is the much more affordable alternative to this Pure Agility. What do you think?
Well, what you'll hear in a lot of our videos and what I talk about is how I wear the high venom finish, and I really enjoy that honeycomb Nike Skin upper. Now what the Pure Agility and also the 16.1 Messi do have, they have quite a similar upper. It almost has that honeycomb kind of look, design and texture to it, and it is definitely grippy. So if I was to go for an Adidas boot, then the Messi 16.1 or the Pure Agility would be a great choice for me.
And it's also very good for wide-footed wingers as well. It's another wide-fitting option, the X16 range, as well as the Messi 16 range. Great wide option for wingers.
So next up is a model that is probably preferred by strikers, but also for wingers as well, and that is Nike's Hover and Phantom 2, and also the finish. Blake's going to talk you through who wears the Phantom 2.
So Pedro Rodriguez of Chelsea Riyad Mahrez of Leicester City, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Does he wear the finish or the Phantom 2?
He wears the finished version.
And Ricardo Quaresma, he scored a few goals at Euros, plays for Besiktas. They're the headline names for the Hypervenom in terms of wingers. So the Hypervenom is all about agility, much like the Messi 16 Plus Pure Agility. It comes in that category of agility. Got a clean lacing region with the off-center lacing system. Very, very responsive with the Brio cables, the Flyway cables, and the Dermot Fit collar. Make the Hypervenom Phantom 2 very responsive. What about the finish?
Well, of course, so these are two kind of different models in that Hypervenom range. We've got the mid-cut Phantom 2, and one of the problems for me about the Phantom 2, I do really enjoy it, but just that Flyknit heel counter is just a little bit too soft for me around the heel. It doesn't give me that very snug, responsive fit. So looking at the finished version, it is low cut. We've got the Spark Brilliance colorway here, and it is very responsive and preferred by the likes of Wayne Rooney. Really good strike of the ball you get on these boots, and it is a great option for wingers as well because that split toe sole plate adding some nice agility.
Now the Hypervenom Phantom 2 and the finish is another great option for wide-footed wingers. Of course, it's not the widest boot by Nike. You've got the Tempo Legend, which is the widest option by Nike Football, but it is another wide option for wingers.
So Eden Hazard, Philip Coutinho, Douglas Costa, William and Raheem Sterling, all lace up in the Vapor 11. This is a great boot for wingers. Both me and Blake do agree with that. It's a very good personal opinion for us. And it is a super boot for those wingers because it has those horizontal ridges, new layered nylon chassis. And Blake's going to talk you through a little bit more about those tech specs.
So from the Vapor 10 to the Vapor 11, this is a much lighter boot. The Mercurial Vapor itself, it's been around for over a decade now. Very, very popular boot for wingers, strikers, anyone that wants to score a lot of goals, get a lot of assists. Of course, it's got that low cut design, which the Superfly 5 doesn't have. The low cut design is the more traditional designs. The players like Eden Hazard, Raheem Sterling, Coutinho just prefer that low cut design. What do you think? Well,
just hold that for me 1 second, Blake, and we can bring in the Vapor 10. Now, there are a couple of players who do actually prefer the Vapor 10. It has a slightly different upper compared to that Vapor 11. This is much more traditional of that Tajin synthetic upper, quite soft, but what the Vapor 11 has those horizontal ridges, just make it a little bit stiffer. So it's pretty much up to you. If you want a very highly responsive boot, very, very innovative, then go for the Vapor 11. Or if you want a little bit of a softer touch and feel on the ball, then the Vapor 10 is your boot. What would you go for?
I would definitely go, I like both boots. I'll probably go for the Vapor 10 based on the fact that the upper is just slightly softer from the get-go. But it's quite even, the sole plate is much better on the Vapor 11. If you compare sole plates there, it hasn't got carbon fibre, that's just a standard nylon chassis, but this is that new sort of 3-layered system which is 40% lighter than the previous sole plate. Overall, I think they're quite even. I would go for the Vapor 10, it's just my personal opinion. And in terms of fit, it's not the widest option out there. It's going to be very responsive, quite narrow fitting. And so wide-footed footballers may consider something else in this list.
So next up is one of the best looking boots on the market today. And that is the Adidas 16 Plus Pure Chaos. And we have the lovely solar red colorway. And it really is stunning. Now, apart from the looks, it's going to give you a lot of high performance qualities. Sprint frame sole plate, it's got that slash graphic upper and also the pure cut collar. Blake, tell us a little bit more.
So this is the more premium option in the X16 range by Adidas Football. It's more expensive than the X16.1 and the X16.1 leather, based on the fact that it's just higher quality. The upper is very, very soft straight out of the box, especially on this pure cut sock system. It's going to provide a really clean strike on the ball. Players like Di Maria, left-footed, loves a clean strike on the ball, cutting in from the right side with his left foot. He wants a clean strike on the ball. This is why we have mentioned it in this list. And the sole plate is the same sole plate as you see on the X16.1, so that's sprint frame, but you see a chrome coating on top with those teardrop shaped studs. Very, very agile boot, very responsive, and a clean striking surface. It's almost the perfect wingers option. What do you think?
Well, I do agree that it is a great boot. If I were to improve one thing of the Pure Chaos, just a fit around the ankle, I could do with it being a little bit more snug. The Tech Fit collar, it is there and it does rise slightly higher up the foot than a traditional boot, but it doesn't actually fit around the ankle as tight as I'd want it to because it doesn't have that same stretch as what you'll find on Nike's Dynamic Fit collar. So that's just one improvement I'd make.
And in terms of fit, I did mention it before, but it is another wide fitting option. As you can see here, I've just got my hands on the upper there. It's very, very wide fitting. The X15.1 range wasn't the widest of boots for wingers, and the X16 comes along and it's a much better wide fitting option for wingers.
So finishing our list is arguably one of the most technology rich and high performing boots on the market, and that is Nike's Mercurial Superfly 5. Now it's a very, very technology rich and high performing boot, which is why you're going to see the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Dimitri Payet, Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford and Henrik Mkhitaryan lacing up in this model. It's got a lot of tech to go over, and Blake's going to talk us through that a little bit more.
So the best thing about the Superfly 5 is that it's very, very responsive. You've got Brio cables, this new speed rib design, and the don't fit collar, lock down your foot in place, as well as this new contoured sole plate. Really mirrors the shape of your foot underneath your foot. Very, very responsive, and it's actually 40% lighter than the Superfly 4. You could go for the Superfly 4 in some sizes because that will be the cheaper option, and you could also go for the Vapor, which will be the cheaper option in the Mercurial range. What do you think?
Well, one of my favourite things about the Superfly 4 was that carbon fibre sole plate. I loved the way it looked, and I also loved how responsive it was. So when I heard and saw that the Superfly 5 didn't actually have that carbon fibre sole plate, I was a little bit dubious over whether I'd actually like the Superfly 5. But let me tell you, if you haven't tried on the Superfly 5 or given it a little test, then you have to give it a go, because this new contoured sole plate is like nothing I've ever worn before, because your foot really does move with the grooves of that sole plate. So it's a really interesting sensation, and overall compared to the Superfly 4, there's been some massive modifications to make it a very high performing boot.
It's not the widest option in this list. It's actually probably the most narrow boot in this list that we have mentioned. Something like the High Venom is a better wide fitting option out of Nike's range if you are a winger. You could also go for the Tempo Legend. Someone like Antonio Valencia is a winger or wing back, and he does wear the Tempo Legend. That's all we have to say for the Superfly 5. Anything else?
So that wraps up our entire list of the best boots for wingers. Let us know in the comment section below what your favourite boot is if you are a winger, or if you're in another position, let us know what your favourite boot is as well. Thanks for watching, and as always,
we'll see you next time.